Art Lewis Show. Later on in this hour, we're going to find out what folks at Dow Credit Union are up to. But before we get to that, the 95th District represented by Bill G. Schuette, and he is with us this morning. Bill, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Art. Thanks for having me back on the show. First time in my 30s on the Art Lewis Show. So.
Happy birthday.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
I had a call earlier from someone reminding me of a bill you had put forth, and he was touting you for it. It was House Bill 4240 that had to do with preventing foreign influence in government. Now, the last I heard, the House had passed it in a bipartisan way, but I hadn't heard a thing about it since. So what happened, and where is it?
Yeah, well, I appreciate your caller, highlighting what is an important issue, Art, which is making sure that foreign governments like China, Russia, Venezuela, North Korea, these countries that are trying to undermine us at every turn, don't have an unfair foothold in the state of Michigan. And so what my legislation would do would prohibit cities, local governments, those receiving government funds from entering into the type of constraining agreement or manipulative arrangement that could really undermine our national sovereignty. And you're right, we live in pretty divided times, Art. So when something passes in a bipartisan manner, you always, it bodes well for its future in divided government. But the Senate has refused to take it up. And it's very discouraging because it shouldn't be something that is a partisan issue. It should be a no-brainer. But the Senate really has seemed unwilling to pick up a whole host of bipartisan bills we have sent over to their chamber.
And, of course, to go right along with that, the governor has not, of course, put out a date for a special election for the 35th Senatorial District because she's afraid it would probably further weaken her in the Senate.
Yeah, and it's, again, this kind of represents the worst of politics. I believe that public service is, an honorable way to serve and give back to your community. But when you see the governor do something like, hold open a vacant Senate seat where there's more than 250,000 people in your listening area here, Art, and in my community of Midland, Bay, and Saginaw, who are without representation in the state Senate. And that's a disservice to those people. And we're debating serious issues, whether it's, Art, this foreign influence legislation, or it's things like our state's budget with how are we going to fix the roads? How do we fund public education? Those are serious, important discussions where people of the Great Lakes Bay region don't have a voice, and that's really unfortunate. And
it really is, particularly since she's gotten pressure not only from outside her party, but inside her party. I mean, the Attorney General even, and the Lieutenant Governor have both put forth the notion that she ought to fill that position. And yet no response.
It shouldn't be a Republican issue. It shouldn't be a Democrat issue, Art. This should be a good governance issue. This is about responsible governorship in the executive branch. And you're right. We've seen our own lieutenant governor. Now, mind you, Art, this is not exactly profiles in courage. When the governor was on one of her many trade missions out of the country, he said, yeah, I think the governor should call a special election. And then when he had the opportunity to do so, it was crickets. He did jack squat. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that gets resolved soon. Yeah, hopefully.
Well, Art, it's important because again, people in the Great Lakes Bay region, we're coming up on our budget, and they've paid their full share of their state income tax. And they're only getting half of their representation. Now, Mind you, I have a bill to give everybody in the Great Lakes Bay region 50% of their state income tax for as long as they've gone without a state senator. But really, that's what we celebrated the 4th of July. No taxation without representation. Yeah. It's an unfortunate reality in the Great Lakes Bay region.
So I don't suspect I should spend that refund just yet.
No. I think that the odds of the governor signing that bill are less likely than the odds of calling a special election. But it's an important.
Well, speaking about the budget, one of the things that you've been fighting for is additional funds for the Four Lake Task Force and the flood reduction infrastructure. Where does that sit right now?
Yep. So I testified last week in front of a House Appropriations Subcommittee on these requests, and I don't think there's a more resilient community across the entire United States, Art, than right here in the Great Lakes Bay region. Because in the midst of a global pandemic, we remember it was 5 years ago now, suffered a generational flood. There was thousands of dollars in loss of property damage, but no loss of life. And we're a community that is resilient and committed to building back stronger. And that involves rebuilding our dams, but then also building the type of resiliency infrastructure that makes it so we don't have to deal with this every time it rains. We don't have to worry about our hospital system or our flood or our homes flooding every time that it rains outside. So those are two significant sources of funds that I'm asking for, and that's what government should spend money on, Art. It should be on major works of public infrastructure, and I'm hopeful it'll be included in the budget.
I know your dad's involved in the flood reductions segment of it. Where does that stand right now? How are we doing in making progress in terms of flood alleviation?
Yeah, and this is a great example of our community rallying together. We have more PhD per capita in Midland County than anywhere else in the state. So we've got a lot of smart minds that are committed to coming around and figuring out how we solve this issue. And I'm proud that in the first budget I was a part of, we were able to get $40 million for that effort. And that's a lot, but that's not all it's going to take to make sure that we solve our legacy flooding challenges. So the good news is the Army Corps of Engineers is involved, invested. It's one of 3 projects across the country that they've chosen to highlight. So that's good. That's good for our community. That's good for our region. And as long as I'm in the legislature, I'll be fighting for our region. That's for sure.
All right. So let's talk about the rest of the budget. How far along are we, and how far away are we?
Yeah. So we passed a budget out of the State House on school aid that provides record funding for our schools. I mean, more than $11 million in net additional funds for Midland Public Schools and millions more for Saginaw and Bay Public Schools as well. And it was a budget, too, that makes sure that funding goes directly to our school districts and to our parents, not to our Department of Education, which is unfortunately misguided and led to some of our really wasteful spending in education that has led to a lack of results in some of the worst reading scores in the state or in the country, right here in the state of Michigan. So the good news is we got that really productive budget through the House. The bad news is the Senate has really refused to take up serious negotiations on that. And I would tell everybody on your program to call your state senator and ask him to move on the budget.
I don't have one.
We know you don't have one.
Yeah, that's the problem. I do have to ask, though,
That's
because
exactly the problem.
In the world of protocols, how does it work? The House has passed a budget. The Senate has not yet done so. Do they have to pass one before it goes to conference, or do you negotiate with them before they passed one?
So we're in the process of negotiation right now. For a bill to go to conference, it has to be a same chamber bill. So the Senate would have to take up our bill for us to go to conference. But the good news is, despite the lack of the formal conference committee, I know Tim Kelly, who is a colleague, a friend of mine, and another one of your guests on the Art Lewis show often, is helping lead our negotiation on the education budget in the House. And we'll continue to dig in and deliver. We've got clock is ticking, though, because October 1st is the deadline, and it's really important that we fund government responsibly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you're busy this morning, so I'll let you go, but we'll chat again in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Art, and have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks a lot, Bill. Bye-bye now. Bill G. Schuette, State Representative from the 95th District. We'll take a break, come back, and introduce you to our guests in studio.
It's Mid-Michigan's best entertainment
And welcome back, the Art Lewis Show on this Monday morning. And we're going to talk about a partnership now between a credit union and a transit authority. Has to do with Dow Credit Union and STARS, the Saginaw Transit Authority Regional Services. And with us to talk about it this morning, a number of people in studio. First of all, from Dow Credit Union, Elton Brooks is the Chief Retail and Lending Officer. Good morning, Elton.
Good morning, Art.
Also with us, Elena Grant, Director of Marketing and Community Relations. Hi, Elena. Good morning. And from STARS, the Director of External Affairs, we say hello to Jamie Forbes. Hi,
Hey,
Jamie.
thanks for having me.
Good. All right. So there's always a lot of partnerships in the world of business. Not often, though, between a credit union and a transit authority, and particularly because of what it's going to do. So let's start with an overview of what this partnership is between Dow Credit Union and STARS.
Definitely. So Jamie and I go way back, and we were talking one day and trying to figure out how we could give back to the community. And the idea of having like a free ride day came up, where we help sponsor anybody that is on the bus that day. And Jamie's like, I love this idea. She's like, hey, I had another idea, like years I've been sitting on. And August 14th is National Financial Awareness Day. And she's like, I always wanted to do something to help educate our members. And do you want to kind of just talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, so the idea is that there's a whole lot of information that folks need to know about how to how to handle their financial lives, and that a lot of our bus riders are maybe not aware of it or could stand to learn more. I think really everybody. There's always more to learn, right?
Everybody.
Yeah, how to make better choices, and also just that our financial institutions are always furthering their offerings. And so we just had the idea that it might be neat to have a day where folks could ride down for free, check out a few info booths about how to improve their credit. There's just so much to learn.
So by mentioning info booths, that brings me to an obvious question. Where are these booths going to be?
Yeah, so the day is August 14th, and it's from 10 until 3, and it's going to be in the STARS Plaza.
So downtown.
Oh, right downtown at the
Yep.
STARS Plaza.
Yep, 615 Johnson.
Yep. And 5 hours, people can come and go as their time allows. They can come back if they found it interesting and didn't get through all the different booths. And when we were trying to decide what booths we wanted to do, I met with Elton, and you had a bunch of ideas. And yeah, let us know kind of where we ended up.
So we wanted to think about topics that were easy enough to describe in a short amount of time. So we decided that we wanted to do budgeting, because everybody needs to know budgeting
start.
skills. We wanted to talk a little bit about basic credit, how to build and how to improve, but really how to understand your credit report. Then let's talk a little bit about managing a checking and a savings account. Just what are the options that are available to you? How does each one work? And that last piece will be the basics of getting a loan. So describing what an auto loan looks like for people, so they can understand different rules, language, and all of those things when they go to apply.
So let me ask you this, Elton. As the Chief Retail and Lending Officer, how many people that come in for a loan are financially aware?
Oh gosh, I would probably say about 50% of the people are actually, financially aware, and then that other half of the people, we do walk them through. We are great counselors, so we try to explain, describe, and make sure that when you leave, you feel comfortable with the decision that you made.
But you do have to do a little teaching every now and then, don't you?
We do, definitely.
Which is, it's a sad commentary in some ways on the education system, because I don't think it does enough to teach the basics. I remember when I went to school, and it was long before either of you were on the earth. But I remember having to take a class in home economics.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in the 50s. But one part of that class was on how to set up a checkbook, why you need a savings account, and it was routine. It was just part of the education. I don't know that we do that very well, do we?
No, I don't think we do it. as much as we would like to see. We do it as because we're a credit union and it's all about people helping people. So we try to make sure that we educate people when they sit in front of us, but it's what do they get when they're not with us. We want to make sure they're prepared or at least feel comfortable when they come into us. They know what questions to ask. They know how to keep the conversation and they feel some value when they walk away as well.
So what other types of booths and things are going to be there?
So, yeah, well, I was just going to add on really
All right,
fast
go
to the
ahead.
last comment. You'd be surprised how many people do not actually have a checking account. They are just using things like Cash App or Venmo to send things places. So we're trying to get them set up so that way when they get a job that requires direct deposit and they must have an account or, that it's a surprising turn.
That's the thing, because if you talk to most of us today, how many checks do you write? Now, I
Right.
still write 2 checks a month
Right.
because I have to, because they don't have no direct payment scheme.
Exactly.
Everything else I do is digital.
Yep.
The only reason I have that checking account is for those 2 checks and a depository.
Right, right. So, but it's so important when you work towards getting a loan or getting in that place where so that you have access to that and you have a place where you can, it's easy to set a small portion aside to go to savings every month. Like we're trying to, the different booths that we're going to have. So Elton kind of gave the high level, but budgeting 101. So we're giving them a booklet when they attend and there's 16 pages in it. And we're walking through each booth. We'll have essentially like 4 little quick pages in this guide. And we're giving it to them so they can take it home. There's an actual budget workbook in there. And they can get their finances. We give them some rules about like a good guideline for this much goes to, must-haves. This amount goes to wants. This amount goes to transportation. So just giving them some general guidelines and they can take it back and do the math on it. And very basic.
Glad you have that transportation piece, because stars would appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and we really feel like, just as we've discussed, it's really easy to just have the momentum of continuing with your same financial plan. And to be able to get this resource available to our riders right on the plaza, right, gives them a moment to reflect on how it's going and see that there are options and there's an institution that is interested in making sure that they have good information. The fact that Dow Credit Union is investing in our riders like this is really meaningful to us, right?
And so the riders understand they can get on a bus wherever the bus stops, go to the plaza, do the show, get back on the bus, and go back to where they came from.
Yeah, so free ride day. I mean, we hope that they'll use it to come to the plaza to talk to folks, but but we also hope that they'll use it to do all the rest of the stuff they need to get done that day. And just for that thing to just be a little bit easier, I think is really lovely.
One of the scariest financial exercises I ever did was writing down every penny I spent
Yeah.
from day 1 of a month to the end of the month. And then I went, huh?
How much did I spend on
That's a
fast
real
food?
reality.
It's a reality.
Starbucks.
Thank you very much.
I didn't even see the call.
That's a reality check, though.
Yeah,
It is.
It is a reality check and leads one to want to sit down and do a budget
Yeah.
and live within that. And of course, it's one thing to write a budget down. It's a piece of paper with numbers on it, or a computer, whatever. It's another thing to follow it.
Absolutely.
That's the other key. It takes a certain amount of willpower, doesn't it?
It definitely does. And I think that's what we're trying to accomplish with even the budget worksheet that we created, because one of the things is those things that you want. So it's about haircuts, and building all of those things into budgets, because when people hear budget, they automatically feel like it's just about my bills, how much I have coming in. But you also have to make sure that you put all of those extra things in there just so that you know really what you're trying to
Realistic.
do.
It's called life.
Definitely.
Life, exactly.
Yeah, things
and thinking
come up.
about savings, and what are you saving for? So I love that we captured, you're saving. Are you saving because you want your first car? Are you saving because you're trying to purchase a home? Are you saving because you really want to have that emergency fund that's sitting there,
And
which we're recommending?
Within all of those are subcategories. Yes, I want that car. What happens if it breaks down?
Oh, yeah. That's
Yep.
why
We'll
we
talk
have
about
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I got to take a break here. We'll come back and talk more about the financial literacy being promoted by Dow Credit Union and STARS, the Regional Transit Authority. We will do all of that after these notes on the Art Lewis Show. Back Back with you on the Art Lewis Show. In studio with us a number of guests. First of all, the Director of External Affairs for STARS, the Saginaw Transit Authority Regional Services. She is Jamie Forbes. Elena Gant is Director of Marketing and Community Relations for Dow Credit Union. And the Chief Retail and Lending Officer is Elton Brooks. You brought me a check, of course, Elton, right?
I did.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, right. Let me, Jamie, ask you, let's just for a second digress from the literacy for a minute, the financial literacy. How's STARS doing?
STARS is doing well. You know, we're so much of the world is a little uncertain right now, and we're doing our best to look at what's coming up, our current situation, and making wise choices and planning to minimize any negative impact that it might have on our riders. So you know that we went through a pretty substantial public hearing and public input process late spring, early summer, and our board will be making a few decisions actually later today about some service changes that we've got coming up to adjust to, you know, just like any household, when you have to pay your bills and you have to make wise choices. And so because of some state and federal funding cuts, we're going to have to make some changes to our household.
Is that most of what it is, defending the federal cuts?
Yeah. Yep. That's what we're looking at. We still have made so many positive changes in the past, 8 or 10 years, expanding services, expanding days we're open, really trying to listen to the community well and adjusting accordingly. And we're still absolutely on that positive trajectory. This is just a little bump in the road, and we're going to adjust and do what we need to do and make it happen.
And this is, in reality, and that's what we have to deal with. Mm-hmm. No choice. Something has to give, right?
Yeah. Yep. So we're
talk about financial literacy.
Yeah, exactly. We're just making those tough choices. We've from last year to this year, we lost $444,000 in our state funding. We've lost around $400,000 in our federal funding.
That's serious money.
It is, and you were just talking to a legislator of this area. We are really hoping that the state budget, as things become more clear, we are advocating a lot, and so are other transits around the state, to to undo some of those cuts that we suffered last year, to really see public transit as a partner in connecting people to opportunities, right? Just like what we're talking about this morning, this is about people accessing work and education and healthcare, and these are all really essential things. And I know that public transit's not flashy, but we have all these wonderful programs and assets in our community, but if people can't get there, it's not quite the same, right?
Which is why many of us would like to see more regionalization. Not necessarily one regional service, but cooperation within the regional services to give us a route that takes us from Midland to Bay to Saginaw, so it can take you 6 hours to get from one point to the other.
I know, I couldn't agree more. Well, and I know that you talked to Matt Fallon a lot. We had an event a couple of weeks ago, a regional summit to talk about public transit, and also as it relates to the MBS airport, right? We don't have good connectivity between the three counties. In Saginaw here, we don't even have a countywide millage. So we do have services that cover the whole county, but
it's a city millage.
Yeah, but they're not subsidized by any sort of millage, and so they're more money. So I think it is imperative that we start talking about laying groundwork so that when the time comes, we can have some shared services.
It's interesting you brought that up because I never thought of it before. There's no transit service to the airport.
There isn't. So they have some taxi options and things like that, but
private,
it's not ideal.
But it's not public transit as we think of it.
Yep. Yeah, so, we just have to do better. That airport is a big economic driver in this community. So some of the things that we see as sort of low-hanging fruit, each public transit has a software package that helps support, in our case, everything from parts management to where the buses are located at any given time, what's their timing, all of that. There's tons of parts of that. It's a very expensive thing to invest in a software program, and it's something you don't want to change too much, right? Because you put so much time into training people. But in our case, the 4 public transit agencies in the region all have different software programs. So something like having an app that is continuous across the region, to be able to route from here to Midland or here to Bay City. We simply don't even have this most basic bit of groundwork.
Yeah, you don't talk
be
to each
able-
other.
Yep. So we're looking at, what are the things that we can do as we make these big decisions about our future that at least will make it possible
Yep.
for us to work together better.
All right, we're going to take a break. Speaking of apps, we come back, we'll talk about financial literacy apps and where you might find those and what they are with our guest this morning from Dow Credit Union and Stars. Let me ask how your sleep was last night, because we're asked to do more for less today. When you go to bed and theoretically you spend a third of your life there, you need quality sleep, and you can get it with a quality mattress from Sanitary Mattress. Now, you can visit all the so-called sleep stores, or you can rest assured your mattress is manufactured right here in the Great Lakes Bay region to your specifications. Your time in bed may be cut short by today's demanding world, but don't be fooled. You can still get a quality good night's sleep on a Sanitary Mattress. And they feature a 1-hour delivery window of your mattress to your home. If you have an RV or a boat, Sanitary Mattress will custom make a mattress for you to your exact size, something the box stores can't do. Visit the Sanitary Mattress Factory and Showroom at 5343 Janes Road in Saginaw, just east of the Harry Brown Airport. Visit them online at sanitarymattress.com or call them 989-753-1757. Sanitary Mattress, serving the Great Lakes Bay region since 1935. We'll be back. We're back with you here on WSGW. In studio with us, Lena Gant. She's the Director of Marketing and Community Relations for Dow Credit Union. Its Chief Retail and Lending Officer, Elton Brooks, is with us this morning. And Jamie Forbes, who is the Director of External Affairs for STARS, the Saginaw Transit Authority Regional Services. STARS and the credit union have combined to promote financial literacy on August 14th down at the STARS Plaza downtown. You were mentioning, Elena, before one of the breaks that you had some apps that you wanted to tell people about that have to do with financial literacy.
Yeah, so in the workbook, first of all, we want to give somebody a place they can start simple, with a pencil and paper, and just start. But then we understand that there are better ways to carry, budgeting into the future by utilizing if you have a smartphone, utilizing apps that are out there. So just amongst the three of us chatting, we were talking about different apps that we all use, and we're going to go back and create a list that will help each of those 4 areas, so that we can give that out to people too if they want to download apps that would help them. So personally, I use a budgeting app called Dollar Bird, and it's changed my life. So it keeps a running total so that you can see what your balance is at any given point in the calendar in the years ahead.
So do you put in your expenses?
I do, and there's a way to automate it, but I'm, as Jamie said, what am I?
Type
Anal?
A.
I am a little type A, and I find that I spend a lot less when I manually enter every single one. And then...
and so everybody understands. If you go into a convenience store and buy a candy bar
Yep.
for $1,
Yep.
you come out and that buck goes
I do.
in. Yeah.
And what I also do that I am really proud of is, say it's $1.04, I round up, so that way I always have a cushion. So I always say $2.
She's already cheating on her budget, folks.
Exactly. No, I round up though, so that
I
way
know,
I think I spent more than I did, and then I've had it happen a couple times where, my husband was in a car accident and we ended up with a big deductible we had to pay, and it was like, oh man, I got to come up with $1,000 extra bucks in a blink. Then I don't want to pull from this and that, and I was like, wait a minute, my own little keep the
cushion.
change, my cushion. I had over $1,000 just from, you figure it, 1,000 transactions. If there's an extra 50 cents each, that's $500.
Which is good because it allowed you to stay within your budget.
Exactly.
But the
yeah.
reality is, life comes into play.
It does, yeah.
and your
And that's
budget
why,
goes to heck in a handbag.
Right.
Because
So-
if you don't have that $1,000, you got to find it.
absolutely.
You gotta find it somewhere.
So Jamie was talking about a really fantastic app that her and her husband use to help with that. So what is that?